It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Flippin' Bats. It is day 2 here in Japan. I am at the Tokyo Dome, one of the most iconic stadiums in the entire world for a game in just a little while between the Tokyo Giants and the Tigers. For this matchup, think Red Sox, Yankees. That's how big this is. It's a massive rivalry. It is going to be awesome, and I'm excited to talk all about that in tomorrow's show. But this is all about my day 1 experience, and it was truly unbelievable. Took in a game at Yokohama Stadium in Yokohama, and it was incredible. And I don't say this lightly. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was one of the best days of my life yesterday, and we are going to dive right into that today in this episode and talk all about why that was the case. And it started by just showing up at the stadium. I didn't know what to expect yesterday, to be honest. I had no idea. I knew we were taking in a baseball game, but I show up, I see the stadium for the first time, and then we walk in, and that's where we get our credentials for the first time. I got my credential. It was awesome. It was really cool. It had my picture. That was all laid out, ready to go for us. And then I met some of the people in the organization for Yokohama. I met a PR guy. I met some players. I met a lot of people in the organization that were excited to meet me. So just walking in the stadium, seeing how nice and generous the whole organization was and ready for us to show up was really cool. But then it was time to walk in. And that's when I laid eyes on the stadium for the first time. By the way, I had never been to a baseball stadium in Japan. So walking into this stadium for the first time, again, I didn't know what to expect. And I was blown away. The first time seeing the stadium, walk in, and we kind of took in BP. That's what we did first. We get there, actually recorded the show, the yesterday's show, and then just took it all in. Took in batting practice, and that was cool and unique as well, because the first thing that becomes very apparent is there's 2 guys hitting at one time. Multiple guys throwing, multiple guys hitting, batting practice right next to each other. It's like double-barreled bullpen action, but it's double-barreled BP, double-barreled batting practice, which is really cool. So I got to see all of that happen. There's also a lot going on at batting practice, which is really unique here. It's basically a full workout before the game even starts. Yes, there's batting practice. There's pitchers working out in the outfield. All the hitters that are they're behind home plate where, you have home plate where the double barrel BP is going. But even at the backstop, there's guys hitting off a tee. There's guys doing soft toss. There's a pitching machine where they're bunting. I mean, you would never see that in the United States. And just the amount of work and prep that is put in. And in the U.S., typically in Major League Baseball before games, you're out there to take BP. There's a couple of groups that are going to hit. When your group is done, you go back in the clubhouse. Pitchers are out there shagging. A point that was brought up to me yesterday by a fan or by somebody in the organization, there's nobody shagging baseballs in the outfield, which is also unique. There's so much work going on that it's kind of, hey, if you come across a baseball in the outfield, pick it up and throw it where it needs to go. Otherwise, keep doing your work. Tons of arm work, band work, all of that stuff going on in the outfield. The work, I can't stress this enough because it was comical for me to see. And if a Major League Baseball player came and saw what was going on pregame, they'd say, nope, not doing that. That's how much work is going on. I mean, there's a full-blown pitching machine throwing, I don't know, it's probably like 70 miles an hour at these guys who are bunting in this little, like, encaved area. You walk in and there's these small little gates keeping balls from rolling away, and that's where they're bunting. It was really cool. Just seeing batting practice was unique, and this is all happening before the game. I got to meet some of the players before the game. Shota Imanaga, one of the best players, one of the best pitchers here in Japan. I got to meet him before the game. He was excited to come over and say hello. And I got to ask him a bunch of questions, which is really cool for me. I played baseball professionally in America for 5 years, and I've been around the game for much longer than that. So to talk to him about playing here at a place where I was so excited to be experiencing was really cool. First and foremost, one of the big things that jumped out to me yesterday is the stadium is small. It's 309 down the line. Center field isn't big at all, but there's just a big wall around the whole stadium, which is also really cool to see. Everything's the same height all the way around. But I asked him what it was like pitching in a small ballpark, and he immediately was like, yeah, this place is small. In America, everybody would be hitting tons of home runs. He made a point to say that. But I also got to say, like, hey, would you want to come play Major League Baseball? He had been playing for Yokohama for 7 years. This is his 7th year on the team. And I said, is it a goal of yours to come play Major League Baseball? And he goes, yes, absolutely. I want to come over. I would love to come over, and hopefully that happens soon. So one of the best pitchers in Japan, got to meet him immediately. And then but right after that, went up to the team store. Okay, so this is all before the game. Go up to the team store, and I kind of came up with the idea in my head, how cool would it be to get a home jersey from every stadium that I visit? So I did that, and I got Shota Imanaga's jersey. He was my Yokohama jersey, which I got, and now we're here at the Tokyo Dome for day 2, and I'm rocking a Tokyo Giants jersey for this episode. But these jerseys are really, really cool. The Yokohama jersey that I got yesterday is a home white jersey, blue pinstripes. It has the Bay Stars logo on the front. I really like that about it. I will be describing my Tokyo Giants jersey in tomorrow's episode, and there's hopefully going to be a lot of jerseys that I can get along the way. We're not always going to be going to baseball games on this journey, on this trip, but we're going to do it as many times as we can because, just to be honest with you, that wasn't really in the plans here. It wasn't. We need to go to as many stadiums as possible. And before the game even started yesterday, we all, me, my producers, everybody here was in agreement. We need to do this as many times as we possibly can. So that's the goal. We're here at the Tokyo Dome for day 2. And so after I got that jersey yesterday, this is all before the game even started, we recorded a couple of videos, okay? These videos entailed everything from top food, my favorite beer at the stadium. We kind of just went all around and recorded as much as we possibly could. So be on the lookout for those videos. They're all going to come out on TikTok. We'll put them out on Twitter as well, Flippin' Bats Pod, wherever you listen. But truly unique, and I'll dive into those more in a little bit. But the food, the beer, the atmosphere, it was all so awesome and unique. But while we were actually recording one of those videos, the very first video we were recording, to be honest, a really cool moment happened. And look, Flippin' Bats is the #1 baseball podcast in Japan. I knew that. It's something that means a lot to me. It's really cool. But I didn't know the response that I would get being here. I had no idea. I didn't know if nobody would know who I am. I didn't know if a few people would. But it is the #1 podcast, and the reaction yesterday was special. The very first thing that happens, gates open up. We're recording a video eating a bunch of food, okay? Gates open up. Within 30 seconds of the gates opening, these 2 girls walk by where we're recording, and two of my producers saw this and said, hey, yeah, just wait right here. He'll be done in a second. I walk over to these girls, and I was blown away. And I want to try and do my best right now to explain my feelings during this, their feelings during this. But the best way I think I can describe their feelings is that one of these 2 girls started crying. The second I walked up and said hello and shook their hand, this girl broke down and started crying. And I was blown away by that, and they knew who I was, they knew who the podcast was, and this isn't about me. That's what became pretty apparent throughout the day yesterday. This is the Shohei Ohtani impact. This is what he's done. I got on a 13-hour flight yesterday, flew across the globe, and these girls were moved to tears at seeing me because I represent and talk about Shohei and him so well, and he means a lot to them. This is the impact that this guy is having, and that would kind of go on to be a theme of the day. We ended up handing them, this is honestly like 5 minutes later, we handed them 2 shirts that we had. One of my producers, we brought shirts here he brought 2, just kind of like a shot in the dark, like, hey, maybe we'll give them away. Maybe somebody will recognize you. We gave both of them to those 2 girls within 5 minutes of the gates opening, and again, she started crying. I asked if she wanted to take a picture in the shirts, and she broke down again and was just so excited and wanted to take another picture. And I kind of have to take a step back here and really think about that. And it's easy to get caught up in the moment. It's easy to get caught up in not really understanding what's happening. And one of those moments, as I'm recording right now, is one of those. I've never been in the Tokyo Dome. There's a lot going on microphones right now, and I don't really know what's happening, but it's really kind of cool that it's happening right behind me. So if you hear that going on, maybe you can let me know what's happening, because I truly have no idea. But yesterday was one of those moments where I didn't know. I didn't know the impact that it was going to have. The #1 podcast here, but it became the theme throughout the day. I immediately met another guy, a guy in his 30s, that was brought to tears. There was a guy in his 30s that started crying from meeting me. 2 years ago, guys, I was playing MLB The Show on Twitch in Virginia, not knowing what direction I wanted to go with my life. The pandemic was happening. I had just finished playing professional baseball. I didn't know what direction I wanted to go. And fast forward 2 years, I have a podcast in Japan. This is so cool. I figured out what's happening. They are opening in 5 minutes. That is the announcement happening right behind me. Gates are opening in 5 minutes, and if you didn't hear it, they're saying it a lot of times. Gates are opening here in 5 minutes in the Tokyo Dome. So yeah, this is something I want to do throughout my career, is I'm never going to take anything for granted. And yesterday was one of those moments that I'm not taking that for granted. I flew 13 hours across the globe because I have this appreciation for one of the greatest generational talents of all time, Shohei Ohtani. And I flew 13 hours to cover him for my show, Flippin' Bats, which is the #1 baseball podcast in all of Japan. And I'm recognized by 50 different people throughout the day and took over 100 photos yesterday. I mean, what is life? How cool is that? And to be able to share that with my team that's here, producers, but people that I call friends as well, is a really cool thing for me. So that happened throughout the entire day. But then it was time for the game. We go to our seats. We sit down after taking some photos. We go sit down in our seats. And right next to us, literally sitting in the row next to us, there's this couple, 2 people. And, man, did I not know how this was going to play out. But hear this. We sit down, and within a few minutes, I was offered a cheese stick, a fish stick, a cheesy fish stick. That's what it was. That's how I was described it. And naturally, I had to accept and eat it because it's the polite thing to do. But full disclosure, disgusting. It was awful. but I powered through, and I ate the whole thing, and I said thank you, and I think I said, this was good. It wasn't, but it was the experience that took place after that was really cool. They give me that. We ended up, one of my producers actually bought them a beer, both of them. And they were so appreciative. And I want to try and properly explain how this transpired after that. But we get them 2 beers, and they are so appreciative that within seconds, both of them, the guy and the girl, stand up, took the jerseys off of their backs, and gave them to 2 of the producers that weren't wearing a jersey. I was wearing my jersey, as you all know, the Yokohama jersey. They weren't wearing one. They stand up, literally took the jerseys off of their backs and handed them to us. And it seemed like they were honored to be able to give them to us just because of the generosity that we had showed, getting them 2 beers, which was in return to their generosity. That's how polite and incredible this is. And I mean, they didn't know about the podcast. They didn't know who I was, which is great. That's fine. This wasn't about that. This was just a few people, clearly not from Japan, that had showed up and did something nice for them in response to them doing something nice for us, and they wanted to show just how polite and kind they were and this country is. And they immediately got up after us being so thankful. I mean, we couldn't say thank you enough. They end up going and buying new jerseys. They took the jerseys off of their backs and went and bought new jerseys for themselves. And what can I say? The generosity is unbelievable. So then the game gets underway. The game was one of my favorite things of all time. I'll dive into that just a little bit more here in a second as the gates are opening here at the Tokyo Dome. So this is all going to be in tomorrow's episode, by the way, but as I'm speaking right now, the gates are opening, fans are piling in, and what I want to do before this episode gets wrapped up is kind of my top 5 things that I experienced from yesterday. So I mentioned the baseball game was great, but just as a whole, my top 5 experiences from day one on my trip to Japan. At number 5, the food. I mentioned in yesterday's episode the ramen, which was the best ramen that I have ever had, but all in the first day here in Japan. I ate ramen, and that night I had sushi, and it was unbelievable. The word fresh comes to mind. It was just like you take the first bite, and it's like this is some of the most fresh sushi that I've ever had. The food was remarkable. The food in the ballpark was incredible. Not to spoil the video that will be coming out, but there were things that are never at baseball stadiums and at Major League Baseball stadiums. I had pork dumplings. I had this hot dog that I have no idea what was on it. I had shaved ice with oranges on top. I didn't know that was a thing. And when you hear that, literally think just a cup of shaved ice with no flavor, and then on top of it, just a bunch of oranges. That's what it was, and it's a staple here in the stadium. And so yeah, shaved ice. That video will all be coming out soon, but the ramen and the sushi were my favorite things from yesterday. Next up, number 4, watching my first ever baseball game in Japan. It was the first stadium I'd ever been to. It was the first baseball game I've ever seen. And I can't stress this enough. Baseball games in Japan are not like baseball games in the United States. They are a party. It is a really cool experience. And to be able to sit there in the stands and watch the game was awesome. Just the game itself. But that leads me to number 3, which is the enthusiasm around the game. There was a pep rally before the game. There are chants in the stands. There are drums being played in the outfield at every single time. Even the pregame announcements. Let me walk you through this just so you get a picture of this. The cheerleaders, which there are a bunch of, which you don't really see that in the United States. There are a bunch of cheerleaders for the first, before the game, they run out onto the field. You're doing the introductions, and they start doing these dances as players are getting introduced, and every name that is said. The drums in the outfield start playing. The fans start doing the beat to the drum. The cheerleaders start doing these crazy things and waving their flags. It was like a European soccer match. That's the best way I can describe it. They have their banner, the flag, and they're waving it back and forth, and the fans in the stands are doing it, and there's drums playing. It is an event before the first pitch even starts. It is an event. Pep rallies, chants, songs, drums, the whole 9 yards. It was really cool. Number 2. My number 2 from yesterday, my day 1 experience, is walking in the stadium for the first time. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of a big fan of understanding moments in the moment, appreciating moments while they're happening. This whole Japan trip is one of them. But my number 2 is walking in that stadium for the first time. I saw it from the outside and was kind of like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was huge, it was enormous, and then we walked in, and I will forever remember it, and I will today as well, doing this in the Tokyo Dome. I will forever remember walking through that tunnel and seeing the stadium for the first time. It's unlike anything in America. There's the stands kind of go all the way around, but like it's not really symmetrical, which adds to the beauty of it, I think. The place is huge. The capacity was around 36,000, I believe, but it's really kind of built straight up. There's really not a bad seat in the house. If you watched the video, if you watched the Flippin' Bats episode yesterday, you saw that we were doing it kind of high behind home plate. I was out of breath getting up to that location. The stands are so built right on top of each other. It's really cool and unique, but that walk out of the tunnel and seeing the stadium was for me something I'll never forget. But my number one moment, my number one day one experience was meeting the fans. Honestly, it was kind of emotional to see. It was kind of an emotional experience to have all of the fans meet and greet me the way they did. There was fan art that was made. I tweeted that out. I'm in the newspaper today. There were people taking pictures. I took over 100 photos. That experience, oh man, not only will I never forget it, the people that are here with me will never forget it. The people that I was taking pictures with themselves were saying that they would never forget it. They were mentioning the podcast. I started a baseball podcast with Fox Sports a year and a half ago called Flippin' Bats. I fly 13 hours across the globe, and 50 people are saying I'm a big fan of Flippin' Bats. How cool is that? And that is absolutely my day one, number one experience. But before we finish up, as I said yesterday, every single episode we are oh, hold up. Speaking of that, yesterday my number one experience meeting fans. Here's one right here. What's up, buddy? What's your name?
Eita Nakajima.
What is it?
Eita Nakajima.
Well, welcome to Flippin' Bats. You're here live on camera. You can wave. This is awesome. Thanks for coming to say hello. I really appreciate that. Tokyo Giants fan?
Yes. Giants I love.
Favorite team?
Yes.
Big game today? You excited?
Yes. Big.
I appreciate you coming to say hello.
Arigatou. Thank you.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou.
By the way, another great point made there. The cultural difference here is it sticks out to you, but it doesn't really matter, as you see. You know, it's not always the easiest to communicate with people. Luckily, I have my translator, Masa, who's about to be here on camera for our word of the day. But that's kind of the whole point here. One, without him, I don't think I'd be able to do this. But the cultural difference is strong, but it doesn't matter. And people are extremely appreciative, and yesterday was one of the greatest days of my life, and I don't say that lightly. But as we started yesterday, the word of the day yesterday was yakyu, which means baseball. Remember, we're going to have to remember all of these. Yakyu means baseball. Masa is back out here today for day two, word of the day.
How about the sanshin,
Sanshin. Okay.
strikeout?
Strikeout. Okay. Sanshin means strikeout.
That's correct.
Okay, so we have yakyu, which means baseball, and shanshin.
Sanshin.
Shan.
S-A-N.
S-A-N.
C-H-I-N.
Sanshin.
Yes, that's
Okay, sanshin means strikeout. Yakyu means baseball. That is your word of the day. Masa, thank you very much, my friend. This has been awesome. This is day two of the trip, and it has already been the experience of a lifetime. So I can't wait to come to you guys tomorrow. Every episode, every day, it'll be coming at you on this entire trip from Japan. I hope you all are appreciating it. Hey, make sure you follow on all social media because we're putting out a lot. At Flippin' Bats Pod on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find it. What I'm doing, where I'll be, pictures, videos, all of that stuff is coming out on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And you can watch every single episode on YouTube as well at Flippin' Bats Pod. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere. That's Flippin' Bats Pod as well. But this does it for day two. This is the day one experience show. In just a couple of hours, the Tokyo Giants are taking on the Tigers in what is the biggest rivalry in Japan. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So this is sort of Red Sox Yankees sort of.
You can say that the big rival. Yeah, Boston and the Yankees type of game.
That's so cool. So
Also sold out today.
it's sold out.
Yes, you can-
Woo-hoo! So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. My entire experience from all of today will be available soon. But thank you all for listening. This has been an absolute blast. This experience is incredible, and I can't wait to keep bringing you guys along the whole journey with me. Until next time, I will see you tomorrow. Peace.
It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits out a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run.
Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.